just the idea of the doppelganger is just freaky enough. So the fact that Jordan Peele made a movie about this, it just gave me shivers just from hearing the concept. So Us is directed by Jordan Peele, is also written and produced by Jordan Peele, and stars Lupita Nyongo, Winston Duke, Shahadi Wright Joseph, and Evan Alex, who play a family whose serenity turns to chaos when a group of doppelgangers begins to terrorize them. I was really pumped about this movie because I really love Jordan Peele's directorial debut with Get Out. I think that it is a fantastic horror film that I wouldn't even necessarily class as a horror movie. I class it more as a psychological thriller, but either way, it's a great film nonetheless. And I was really excited to see what Jordan Peele was able to do with his next project. And when I found out what the process of the movie and what the actual project film of the film was going to be, I got incredibly excited because the idea of the doppelganger is something that really, really intrigues me. So the fact that Jordan Peele was able to make this movie, it just really reached out to me. It definitely got me excited, and this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. The whole cast do an absolutely incredible job in this film because not only do they have to portray their main characters, but they also have to portray their doppelgangers as well, their doubles, or their tethered as they're called in this movie. And what I really appreciated about that was that, you know, they really got to experiment with their roles, especially Evan Alex, who plays Jason, the young boy of the family. His double is incredibly different to his actual, you know, character in the movie, because it's just, I don't want to go into it too much because I really don't want to say too much about the story or, you know, the characters. I don't want to dive too much into it. Of course, there are no spoilers in this review, but, you know, his character, all I'll say, his character is extremely different to his regular version, and it was actually incredibly impressive and fun to see his range in that sense. And of course, you're not going to see any Us review without seeing anybody completely praise Lupita Nyongo, who is just amazing in this movie. Like, Lupita Nyongo, this could be like a new Oscar snub next year because this is just an incredible performance. Not only is it just incredibly entertaining to watch when she is just her regular self, but her double is so creepy. Like, the voice that she uses is really scary, it's really intimidating, it's really uncomfortable, and it's unsettling. And not just the voice, but also just the performance, the look in her eyes. It's really unsettling and really unpleasant. And I think all of that comes down to Lupita Nyong'o's performance. She was amazing in this movie. This film is really well shot as well. I mean, you know, we could expect this now from Jordan Peele. Like, Get Out was an incredibly well shot movie, and Us is exactly the same. There are so many cool shots in the film. There's so many beautiful shots in the film. There are a lot of shots in the movie that kind of just come across as just really picturesque, especially because there's one shot towards the end where there's basically the double and Lupita Nyong'o's character are on screen at the same time. And although I don't particularly love the scene that that shot was in, the shot itself was really nice. And there are loads of shots like that in the movie that just really reached out to me, just made me go, you know, nice shot. Also, I have to point out the sound editing in this movie, which is also really impressive. Especially with a horror movie, you really have to nail the sound, because sound is an incredibly influential part of a horror film. If the sounds don't sound authentic, if they don't sound real, and if they don't sound creepy enough, and they're not placed in the right area, it's just going to completely fumble the entire thing. But luckily with Us, Jordan Peele was able to really give us this amazing sound editing, which really just emphasized everything, because there are so many creepy noises that just kind of add to the atmosphere of the film overall. And speaking of sound, the score and the soundtrack are also equally as incredible in this film. I really love the score, especially there's this particular piece that plays in the beginning and the end of the film, which is really creepy and goes on what seems like forever, but when you realize it's, you know, I was actually listening to it earlier today, the actual track from the soundtrack, and it is about 2 minutes long, but it felt so much longer than that because of how creepy it was. And there's also another song as well, I particularly like the finale piece as well. That one's really good. And of course the soundtrack's great as well. Obviously I Got a 5 on it is just a great song that was used in the marketing, and it's also actually in the film itself, which I really liked. And there's also another song which I'm not going to spoil, but it's used in a scene, and it's absolutely hilarious, but also incredibly well put together at the same time. Now, of course, this movie coming from Jordan Peele and also coming from the same guy who directed Get Out, you will expect some social commentary in this movie. The social commentary is not as subtle, I don't think, in this movie as it was in Get Out. I feel like there's a lot more kind of shouting out in this movie. Not shouting out necessarily, but just in compared to Get Out, it's a lot more obvious, I think. And I think I was able to pick up on it a lot better and a lot easier than I was in Get Out. You know, in Get Out, I kind of got hints of it, and then I was able to kind of unravel it as time went on. With Us, I was kind of able to just to see it and just get it straight away, and was able to kind of see exactly what Jordan Peele was going for. And again, obviously, you would kind of expect that in a Jordan Peele movie, but it's just a lot more obvious in Us than it was in his previous film. Now, the ending of this movie is where my problems kind of lie, because I think the film is fantastic overall. I think it's really fun, it's really entertaining, it's a great watch. But I couldn't help but feel like the ending cut the legs off the movie a bit, because there are so many things. There are two kind of major reveals, and again, no spoilers, but there are kind of two major reveals in the movie, and neither of them are complete. Like, neither of them are completely explained, because there are so many. Although the movie itself does explain it, the thing that they actually explain doesn't add up. It doesn't actually make sense. So it's kind of frustrating, because I've seen some people talk about how it's open to interpretation along the lines of something like a Nolan film, but the difference with that is, with a Nolan film, he presents you with a very vague image at the end of the movie, which is able to be interpreted in multiple different ways. Us actually explains what happens, but the thing that they explain doesn't actually make sense. Like, the explanation itself doesn't add up. And it presents so many different questions as well following on from that. Like, when I went to see the movie last night with my girlfriend, we were sat in her car afterwards discussing the movie, and we came up with about 20 different plot holes within the space of about 10 minutes with these answers. And it came across as, I just don't know what Jordan Peele was going for. Like, I don't know if it was intentional, because it's so obvious. Like, these flaws and these plot holes are so obvious that I'd have to think it was intentional. But then why would you do something like that? Because again, if it was something very vague, then I'd say, okay, well, maybe it is open to interpretation, but it's not like that, because it's incredibly well explained, and it's incredibly detailed, and it's explained in its explanation. So why is there so many holes in it? Like, it's crazy. I don't like the ending of the movie. Like, it could have been really cool. It was an interesting idea, but I just don't really feel like the movie does a good enough job of actually saying, oh yeah, this is how it all adds up, and this is how it all ties together, because again, there are just so many things that just don't add up. Overall, though, I did really enjoy Us. I think it's a fantastic horror film. It's a lot more of a traditional horror film along the lines of something that you would typically expect, rather than Get Out, which was obviously a bit more unconventional, but I still feel like the film is a great time. It's really fun. The thrills are there, the shocks are there, the horror is there, and also the comedy's there, which obviously Jordan Peele, coming from a comedic background, you would expect in the film as well. And I just think the movie is really, really entertaining. I just kind of felt like Jordan Peele got in his own way a little bit, and maybe got in over his head with these ideas, because by the time you get to the ending, you kind of walk out feeling underwhelmed, and you kind of walked out feeling confused, because again, it's just not really well explained, and it just kind of comes across as a bit lazy, or maybe not even necessarily lazy, but just the fact that Jordan Peele maybe felt like he could get away with it, and in my eyes, he couldn't. And I feel like this film, although I really enjoyed it, I think it's a great watch, and I definitely want to watch it again. Just that ending really, really irks me. So have you guys seen Us? If you have, make sure to let me know all your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let's have a conversation about this movie in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, if you want to see more movie reviews from me, be sure to subscribe, and I hope to see you guys again next time.